Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Meghan Markle thought she hit the jackpot marrying a royal, but what she really got was a guy who's more lost than loaded. Prince Harry, the so-called depressed ginger, is apparently not the golden ticket Meghan expected. Turns out she assumed he was worth billionaire-level money, castles, yachts, generational wealth, and instead got stuck with a dude who's barely worth a couple million and carries enough emotional baggage to fill Buckingham Palace. Now that the fairy tale is unraveled, Meghan's allegedly shifting gears. Forget royal duties. Forget the Netflix fluff and faux cooking shows. This is about securing a real bag, and not just any billionaire. We're talking the kind of man who can fund her next chapter. No questions asked, no jam jars a hawk, and definitely no awkward pineapple tutorials on camera. Megyn Kelly never wanted to hold back, recently called it how she sees it. According to her, Meghan Markle would leave Harry tomorrow if someone like Elon Musk blinked in her direction. She didn't even sugarcoat it. Said Meghan has already extracted what she needed from Harry. The title, the global fame, and the princess narrative. That part of the mission is complete. What's left? Not much. A man with no friends, no strong family ties, no serious cash, and barely any career direction. And it's not just speculation anymore. Meghan's circle. Yes, her own people are starting to leak. One source told Fox's Kennedy that Markle has reverted to who she was before meeting Harry, an ambitious L.A. actress chasing attention and opportunity in all the usual high-powered rooms. It's that old-school influencer energy. And with her poll numbers in free fall and her ventures crashing and burning, it looks like the glow-up plan is failing fast. What's worse, she's now become something of a joke in her own neighborhood. According to insiders in Montecito, Meghan's neighbors are straight up laughing behind her back. The whole "I'm just a normal mom" act isn't landing with anyone. She's reportedly trying to market herself as relatable while still demanding private jets, luxury retreats, and elite dinner invites. The mismatch is loud. You can't post pineapple hacks one day and fly to an event talking about climate change the next. People are noticing. People are talking. Even big names in media and Hollywood are slowly backing away. Brooke Shields, who once stood beside Meghan on stage at South by Southwest, cracked a joke about her during a podcast that had everyone doing a double take. Shields, who survived Hollywood's worst and still kept her dignity intact, subtly called out how superficial Meghan sounded, constantly recycling that old "I wrote a letter at age 11" story. Brooke hit her with a cold dose of reality, reminding everyone that not all stories are worth retelling 100 times, especially when they sound like carefully rehearsed PR fluff. And then there's the financial side of it all. Meghan's Netflix cooking show, if you could even call it that, has been clowned publicly, not just by critics, but by fellow celebs, commentators, and even former collaborators. Her infamous jam and jelly empire already wilting. The idea that she'd build a brand like Martha Stewart or Joanna Gaines was short-lived. She's not relatable. She's not trustworthy. And worst of all, in Hollywood, she's not profitable. Behind all the surface-level empowerment branding, the truth is that Meghan Markle seems to be in search of a new life raft, something bigger, richer, and far more exclusive than Prince Harry could ever offer. Ted Sarandos might have called her a rock star, but the glow faded fast. Insiders say Netflix execs have quietly grown frustrated with Meghan's lack of actual results. Sure, the headlines were big at first. A royal goes Hollywood. That sells for about 5 minutes. But once the cameras started rolling and the ideas were supposed to flow, there wasn't much substance behind the sparkle. It became obvious that Meghan didn't want to create. She wanted to pose. The difference matters when you're burning through production budgets. The so-called cooking show, more like a vanity project disguised as content. Everyone remembers that now viral pineapple clip, where she showed viewers how to eat the fruit by following nature's wedge lines. It was unintentionally hilarious. People weren't learning anything. They were laughing. The footage was so bad, even her producers left it on the cutting room floor. And yet, she thought it was a great idea to bring it back as bonus content for her audience. That move alone proved how out of touch she really is. Meghan thinks she's delivering Martha Stewart levels of homemaking wisdom. In reality, it's Pinterest core fluff, just with better lighting and a fancier kitchen backdrop. Meanwhile, Harry's standing and all of this looks even more tragic. People close to the couple say he's become a shell of the man he used to be. Whatever confidence he had as a prince is now buried under layers of PR scripts, therapy buzzwords, and awkward podcast sound bites. He reportedly doesn't push back on Meghan's decisions, even when they're clearly damaging his image. He's just there along for the ride, occasionally dragged onto camera to smile and nod through her monologues about empowerment and mental health, even as their own brand crumbles from within. And Meghan, she's been quietly floating around billionaire circles. No one's caught her with anyone new yet, but sources have said she's been strategically visible at elite events. Think Silicon Valley mixers, private charity galas, and the occasional tech retreat in Big Sur. One name that keeps coming up is a European telecom mogul known for dating actresses past their peak fame. No confirmation, of course, but the sightings aren't slowing down. There's also been chatter about her circling back toward Ted Sarandos, not for work, but for proximity. Some believe she sees him as a potential ally, maybe more. He's powerful, wealthy, well-connected, and most importantly, he has a certain admiration for her, or at least he used to. Meghan's been planting herself near the places where decisions are made, hoping someone big enough sees her as valuable again. But that's the catch. Value. Hollywood doesn't care about your title. It cares about metrics. Meghan's name used a trend. Now it sparks eye rolls. One anonymous exec even said, "She's box office poison. No one wants to take the risk." That's brutal but accurate. Her projects flop. Her presence sparks backlash. And even her own former supporters like Mindy Kaling and Oprah have gone quiet. That silence says everything. So now she's caught in this strange between. She's too controversial for mainstream Hollywood, too flashy for traditional royals, and not profitable enough for the brand she's chasing. That billionaire dream. It's starting to look more like a fantasy than a plan, because the men she's aiming for, men with serious power and legacy, aren't looking for a woman seeking a lifeline. They can spot a social climber from a mile away. Kennedy from Fox News dropped a brutal little truth bomb recently, courtesy of a well-placed mole in Montecito. Apparently, Meghan's neighbors have had enough of the whole charade. Behind closed doors, they're laughing at her attempts to rebrand as just a regular woman trying to juggle motherhood, business, and public service. It's the kind of reputation collapse you can't fix with PR fluff or a fancy photo shoot. People in her own zip code, the same people she's trying to impress, are mocking the disconnect between her image and reality. It's not just the locals. The elite class is catching on. Meghan's brand of aspirational living isn't aspirational anymore. It's cringe. There's this growing sentiment that she's trying too hard to chase the old-school celebrity formula. Tell an underdog story. Push a lifestyle brand, marry rich, rinse, repeat. But the modern audience doesn't buy it anymore, especially when the struggles are wrapped in designer coats and private jet footage. Even her loyal supporters are starting to distance themselves. The Obamas, who once extended a friendly hand, have kept a noticeable silence. Oprah, who gave Meghan and Harry their explosive interview platform, hasn't followed up with any new joint ventures. Tyler Perry, once her personal savior with a private mansion and security, is now publicly hinting at wanting his favors returned. That's not a good sign. That's what happens when people stop seeing you as an asset and start viewing you as a liability. Meanwhile, Prince Harry just looks stuck. A man who gave up everything, his military roles, his family, his country for a promise of freedom and peace that never showed up. Instead, he's found himself in a loop of projects that don't land in a marriage that by many accounts feels transactional. At public events, the dynamic is hard to miss. Meghan leads, he follows. She talks, he nods. When he does speak, it's usually scripted, filtered through a message machine designed to keep them relevant. But nothing's sticking. And now the media is catching every fumble. Whether it's her pineapple cutting segment or that painfully dull second season of the Netflix show that no one asked for, the backlash is louder than the buzz. Meghan wanted to be a mogul, build a brand like Goop or Schemes. But there's a problem. She doesn't have the relatability of Gwyneth or the hustle of Kim. She doesn't innovate. She imitates. And in an age where audiences crave authenticity, that just won't cut it. Even Brooke Shields, one of the most beloved names in the industry, couldn't hold back. On a recent podcast, she gently but clearly shaded Meghan's go-to When I Was 11 story. Brooke, who lived through decades of public scrutiny and real trauma, made it obvious that she found Meghan's constant retelling of sanitized empowerment tales exhausting. The audience felt it, too. The laughter, the relief. It showed people were done pretending to be inspired. That moment with Brooke said more than any headline could. It marked a cultural shift. Meghan isn't seen as a misunderstood trailblazer anymore. She's a punchline, a cautionary tale of what happens when ambition isn't backed by authenticity or talent. The empire she thought she was building now looks more like a facade. Titles don't guarantee influence. Exposure doesn't equal respect. And every move she makes to reclaim relevance just seems to dig the hole deeper. Whatever happens next, it's clear the narrative has flipped. Meghan didn't escape the royal family. She escaped the structure that kept her myth intact. Now, in the open waters of fame without anchor or compass, she's adrift, still searching for that billionaire lifeline, still hoping someone sees value in the image. But the truth is, the show's over and the audience has moved.